Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us on the Neutral Zone Hotel. We're a podcast that focuses on left-leaning issues across hockey in many leagues and many locations. I didn't even bother opening up our normal script read, so it's going to be a little off. But what I want you to know is joining me here in the hotel today, two of my very great compatriots. SJ?
Hi, I'm SJ. I don't remember my opening spiel.
You do your pronouns and you do your team.
Oh, yeah, that's right. My pronouns are they, them, and I am a Seattle Kraken fan. Hello.
A lifelong Seattle Kraken fan.
Right.
Yeah, I got Trevor here with me as well.
Hi, guys. It's been a while. It's Trevor. Pronouns are he, him, the hometown Vancouver Canucks fan, and newly minted Loser Point merchant.
Yeah.
Also, hey, Benjamin, what are your pronouns and what team do you cheer for?
Well, see, I was gonna finish up by saying, and my name is Benjamin. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan who, since the last time we spoke, has bought tickets to see the Habs for the first time ever in the Bell Center, and also a Ottawa Charge fan. And those games have finally shown up, and I think we'll just jump right in and talk about the PWHL. So the biggest news dropped today. We're recording on Tuesday the 29th, which is 2 days before Halloween and 1 day before I see Iron Maiden.
Nice.
The big news is the PWHL has announced that they are hoping to expand for the 2025-26 season and have asked cities to submit RFPs, requests for proposals, to get an expansion franchise. So they've said there's 2 teams they want to add. And this is pretty phenomenal news. So I think we've talked a lot about expansion in the past and what it's going to bring to the league, a league that's very tight in terms of talent. So, Shay, we'll start with you. What are you thinking about expansion, and where do you think those teams are going to drop?
I am really curious whether they're going to go 1 in Canada, 1 in the U.S., or 2 in the U.S. I think Pittsburgh and Detroit both have a real shot. And I was really interested in the recent report that Quebec City is trying to attract a PWHL team. They have been trying to get an NHL team back for ages and ages. But the problem there has always been that they don't have a big sponsorship base. So I'm very curious whether that might also be a problem for the PWHL, or if the PWHL is still a small enough league that it doesn't matter for them.
So based on my experiences in the arena last year, most of the in-arena sponsors were very much national. So you had the official sponsors, the William H. Macy's whiskey brand that bought in early and had a commercial spot all year. Mm-hmm. You had the big name sponsors like Canadian Tire, Barbie after a certain point. Didn't see too many local ads other than the ones that were already on the boards in places that the PWHL wasn't clearing up. Now that might change, and it might change as the base grows, but given this is absolutely a gate revenue league in a way the NHL really isn't, I can't see them worried about the corporate base as much as the NHL is. And I think the other thing to keep in mind is the NHL is probably being slightly disingenuous about the corporate requirements for an NHL team in Quebec. I can't see there being that many more corporations headquartered in Winnipeg, for example, or Edmonton. These are pretty small cities comparatively. Most U.S. cities do have some corporate base in each, and of course some are massive, but I don't know. I tend to think that that's an overstated reason for why they're never going back to Quebec City. I think it's more that they don't think they're going to generate any ad revenue, and they don't think they're going to generate any meaningful ticket sales over anywhere else. But the PWHL, I think, would do great in Quebec City because it is a hockey-starved market. It is in the 800,000 to 1 million sweet spot, and they have an arena that is really a great arena and ready to go. They already put 15,000 people a night in there for Remparts games. So why not the PWHL?
Yeah, I absolutely think that they could draw and fill that arena. That would be pretty sweet, and they wouldn't be a secondary tenant in that arena either. Which, I mean, that's got to be attractive.
I mean, yeah, you're not going to get the same amount of dates with a PWHL team as you would with their M parts, but you're obviously going to get the attendance. Like, Benjamin and I can attest, when we saw PWHL Montreal last year versus when we went back to that arena a few days later for the Laval Rocket, like, the amount of people in the building for PWHL was probably at least 40%, if not 50% more, like almost double.
Like, yeah, I think the attendance for the Rocket game we saw was about 6,000, and it was max capacity for the Victoire game we saw, which is 10,400 and something, if I recall. So they absolutely had no problem filling that barn. They had no problem filling the Bell Center for their Bell Center game last year. And whenever they announced a Bell Center game or Scotiabank game this year, they're going to fill it up. I think they'll fill the Canadian Tire Center as well.
I hope so.
So they are apparently doing a neutral site game in Quebec this year, and we'll definitely talk about that in a little bit when we get to neutral sites. But I have to think that if you are talking about selling tickets and you want people to show up, Quebec City has got to be like a number one target in Canada with a bullet right now.
Yep. I think that I really think that Detroit might be the first American market too.
I mean, it makes sense with its proximity to Canada. Like, it's a pretty, from what I've heard at least, it's pretty quick, like, drive over in, like, maybe an hour out of, like, Toronto area, 2 hours.
So a couple things to, no, it's way more than 2 hours to get from Toronto to Detroit. It's a 5-hour drive.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of Windsor then. But
yeah, Windsor's right across the river.
Gotcha.
But so I agree that Detroit looks really attractive. They did 14,000 for the neutral site game there last year at Little Caesar Arena. And the proximity of Windsor, which is 400,000 person city, is very, very nice. And on top of that, right now, getting from Windsor to Detroit kind of sucks because you either have to kind of go on the old bridge or through the older tunnel. But around this time next year, they're going to be opening the Gordie Howe International Bridge, which is highway-to-highway connections, so it will speed it up. There's a toll, but I'm sure if you live in Windsor, there's probably like a frequent pass you just get. So the biggest challenge I see for Detroit is finding an arena. Detroit does not have a hockey arena under NHL size. And Little Caesars is not only home to the Detroit Red Wings, but also to the Pistons, which takes 41 games each, plus playoffs. So you're busy at least 82 nights, plus switch overtime, plus concerts, plus whatever else is happening. The league, if they add 2 teams, I have to think they're going to try to get to 32 games in the 25-26 season, which is the most you can do contractually without special permission from the PWHPA. PWHLPA? PWHLPA.
PWHLPA.
Yeah, but that's in the CBA, is 32 games is the max, which they haven't gone to yet. So even if there's neutral site games, squeezing that many in might be a challenge.
Yeah, that's a good point. They need a barn. What about
No, Windsor has a barn. It has a 7,000 person arena.
Oh, really?
So even if they were to split the games, that might be doable. But I don't know from a labor employment perspective if that's feasible.
Oh, that would be complicated.
There is also Grand Rapids, which has an AHL team if you really need it as well. But I don't know how far out from Detroit that is.
No, it's more than a short drive.
Yeah.
It's not part of the Detroit region.
Yeah, so right off the bat, then that probably rolls that out as well, unless you want to make that a full-time market. But then you kind of almost run into a New York situation last year. It's like, hey, we're going to call ourselves New York, but we're actually playing out of like a completely different state.
Which is still the situation this year. It's just that Prudential in New Jersey had the most sales. So I think...
Yeah, but we were also used to New York teams playing out of New Jersey. That's nothing new.
Oh, the Newark region is functionally part of New York City, so... Yeah, they tried Pittsburgh last year and they got 8,500, 9,000 for that game.
It's a softer market.
PPG Paints does not have another tenant, as far as I'm aware. I don't think there's a basketball team in Pittsburgh.
Nope, there is not.
So that means there is room in that NHL arena for another tenant.
But if they're only drawing 9,000 with a special event, then I don't know that season ticket sales are going to be robust enough for, 15 dates a year.
But the other point that Benjamin made about Detroit is that there's no smaller rink. What about does Pittsburgh have smaller rinks available?
Nah.
No. Remember, the 5,000 to 8,000 size arena that are common in Canada for junior hockey is not common in the United States. That size arena is going to be common in cities that have AHL teams, but not NHL teams. And there are very few major hockey markets that have room for that don't already have an NHL team and an NHL arena, right? Like, it's kind of the same thing.
Or a junior team.
Yeah, like Boston is a notable exception because Boston is one of the centerpieces of hockey. And if you think about Minnesota, which is also one of the centerpieces of hockey, they also have the college arena up there for I don't know, some sort of state school. Don't yell at me, college hockey fans. I don't know your game. But they had the other arena they played at. They did one game at last year, and it's a much smaller arena, but it's more in line with sort of where the PWHL thought they were going to be in year one.
Another good American market, Buffalo.
Yeah, they've had experience with women's professional hockey there recently too, when the Buffalo Buttes of the NWHL were there.
Yeah,
the Buttes.
PHL.
The Buttes sold. They sold out a 1,000 person barn as well. So there is some level of support. It's just across the river from Canada, so there are some Canadians there. Every time they play the Victoire, that building would be full. Wherever they, not the Victoire, sorry, the Scepters, that building would be full. Mm-hmm. Yeah, another possibility that I've seen is Hamilton. You would, yeah. So I think it's called Canada First Center now, but whatever Cops Coliseum is called these days.
Yeah.
It's a 17,500 person arena that's finishing up a major renovation and modernization for the start of next hockey season. And you have immediate crosstown rivals in the Scepters.
Mm-hmm.
Can I suggest two more American markets? Cleveland or Columbus?
Cleveland has the arena because that's where the Monsters play.
Yep.
And it's still relatively in that region that you currently have all of your teams in. So
it's like Cleveland is smack dab between Detroit and Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. It's right there.
That's a good idea, actually. Yeah, I like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a neutral site game somewhere in Wisconsin this year.
Oh, yeah.
Madison has a very robust support for their women's college hockey.
Yes.
I believe that is the University of Wisconsin Badgers.
That sounds right.
Yes.
Home of Cole Caulfield, who we may be talking about more later, who may or may not be currently tied for goals league in the NHL right now.
No big deal or anything.
And Milwaukee as well is a pretty big sports town that does not have hockey, but lives in a very hockey-friendly area. I've seen a lot of speculation on Chicago, but I just don't think Chicago is doable because, again, there's the arena issue.
Where do the Wolves play?
Yeah, I thought they played at United Center.
Well, let's find out.
The Wolves play at the Allstate Arena in Rosemont. Isn't that where they've had AEW pay-per-views there, right? Like that's where they've had a couple.
Yeah, that's where All In.
Yeah, used to go to ASEN.
Yeah, so that's where the Wolves play. That could work potentially. That's a smaller building, right?
It's smaller than the United Center, which is I think the largest or second largest arena in the United States.
That holds 16,700.
What?
The problem is that it's in Rosemont.
Okay.
Yeah.
16,000 for ice hockey.
I wouldn't be shocked if they get a neutral site game this year, but I would be blown away if they win an RFP.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel about it.
Oh, it's right by
I'm
our
not so sure.
hair. Right. That's right.
I'm not so sure about Columbus. I think Cleveland, maybe Buffalo. Yeah. London, Ontario was one of the original PWHL sites they were considering.
Mm-hmm.
It has a 10,000, 9,000 and change person arena. Very hockey mad, but I have to think that the PWHL is looking at larger centers now.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine they're going to go back to London after, the success they've had in Canada. So feel bad for Londoners, but,
I like the idea of putting 2 teams in the Toronto area. So I do love
Buffalo.
Yeah. Buffalo or Hamilton make a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I really like Quebec City as an option.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be your built-in rival forever with Montreal. And then once again, the Ottawa team just gets stuck in the middle pretending they're the rivals of everybody else, which is
Little sibling syndrome.
Yeah, that's just how it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
That's the big news on the PWHL front for expansion, and our reasonable guesses where the teams may end up. They also announced there's going to be 9 neutral site games this year, including leaks. So they've pretty much announced one in Quebec City.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been reporters stating that there will be at least a couple games in the Western market. Vancouver and Denver, highly suggested currently.
Woo!
Vancouver would be good.
Yes.
Denver, I think, would be a really, really great spot.
Yeah, that could
try
be a fun
out.
one for sure. I mean, obviously, I'm biased towards one of those options, but
If they come to Vancouver, they should just take a little jog south and play another game.
you're
in
not
Seattle.
wrong. I agree. Just take a little road trip, just 3 hours down the I-5. I agree.
Yep.
All right.
Look,
so,
if the Carolina Hurricanes can do it in a bus
Just make sure to pick up your 100 cheeseburgers on the way.
at the McDonald's in Everett.
but they didn't have a car, so Brent Burns had to ask somebody on the street to
Out
take
of
him through.
all the guys to do it with, too, you couldn't get like a baby face like Kotkaniemi or like Taravani. You had to get the guy who looks
No,
like a
so-
Sasquatch.
The McDonald's in Everett. He's perfect.
I'm assuming that this is some Seattle nonsense we don't know, SJ. You have
It's
to explain
It's
it.
just not a great part of town.
Well,
Are you saying that
there's
Brent
only
Burns is
one
just not a great
McDonald's?
guy?
No,
Are you
he
saying there's
is,
only one
but
McDonald's in
he's-
Everett?
He just fits. I'm just saying he'll fit right in, and like just the visual consistency. No offense to Everett. I love you, Everett.
Offense meant to Brent Burns, though.
Oh.
SJ hates Brent Burns.
I have virtually zero feelings about Brent Burns.
I'm just teasing you.
I'm sure he's a very nice man.
So let's assume that it is Quebec City, Denver, and Vancouver. Where are your guesses for the other 6 neutral site games?
I would imagine they might also try one in like the Southwest US, like maybe something like Los Angeles, maybe Vegas, which I've seen interest in Vegas. So
They've done rivalry games in LA. That's not the worst idea.
mm-hmm.
I don't know if they would really draw in Vegas. Maybe.
I'm just trying to imagine, like, because I feel like at this point, the big purpose as well of neutral site games is to kind of test the waters into markets that you would want to go into.
Yeah.
And Vegas has shown over the past like 5-6 years that they are definitely a big sports market that was untapped for the longest time. A very rare Gary Bettman W at that.
I could see them doing, if they're going to come out west, I could see them doing Calgary or Edmonton as well.
Calgary, because Calgary's got a big connection with Hockey Canada, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I would imagine easily them over Edmonton in that regard then.
Yeah. Although there are like 87,000 hockey teams that play out of that barn. So, I mean, it'd be tough to really elbow your way in.
Well, I mean, it's the same with both of them because you got the Hitmen and the Flames in the Saddle Dome, but then don't the Oil Kings also play out of Rogers Place?
Yes, but the They also have the Calgary also has a juniors team.
I forgot
has the
about
AHL team. Yeah, they moved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no! Reminding me of Edmonton's AHL team. They should go to Bakersfield.
So to be clear, there are currently 5 tenants in Scotiabank, one of which is the CEBL team, so that's during the summer.
Yeah.
But everything else does compete, so it would be extremely challenging, I think, to get in.
Is there like
permanently,
a lacrosse team?
But yeah they have the Roughnecks are out of there.
Well, they're going to build a new arena soon too.
But that's not going to give them, like, they're getting rid of the Saddle Dome. They're going to tear it down for parking. Yeah, as you do. But like, I really don't think Calgary is an expansion market at this time for this league.
Yeah. But again, maybe not, like, because like you and I have discussed privately, and I think we've discussed in the podcast, the West Coast isn't going to be expanded for probably like 8 to 10 years. So at this point, you can still put feelers out, at least get an idea of what the temperature could be like somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
But like,
my opinion is that they're going to, like, I feel like they're going to get to 10 to 12 teams and then drop 4 in the West over 2 years. Like, I really think that's going to be the target. But neutral site games, any other guesses for neutral site games?
DC.
Yeah.
DC. Yep.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if they might try, like, kind of in that Sunshine Belt, like either something in Florida, maybe Nashville, Raleigh, North Carolina, somewhere in there.
I could see them going to Nashville just for fun. They just want to spend a weekend in Nashville.
Yeah. Maybe St. Louis. I don't know. I'm trying to think like decent like hockey markets.
There's 2 types of markets I think you want to tap. The first is well-known hockey markets. So I think DC makes a lot of sense for that. Buffalo, another game in Detroit, Pittsburgh make a lot of sense for that. But you also want to look at areas that have strong support for women's sport in general. So with that in mind, I think Indianapolis has a chance to get a game.
Ooh.
They are currently very high on women's sports in Indiana.
Well, they're high on Caitlin Clark. I'm not sure how much that's going to translate.
Just give Caitlin Clark the VP treatment, and everyone will be like, "We're going to have Caitlin Clark at the PWHL special game tonight," and you'll get.
I wonder how much
they'd get 10,000 Hoosiers show up.
I mean, yeah, but like, I wonder how much they'd have to pay her to show. Like, she's probably not going to do it out of the goodness of her heart, or because she's a great hockey fan.
She's got to live there, so like, it's not like she's busy. It's during the off season.
You got to have something to do there.
I mean, she doesn't necessarily live there during the off season.
No, she probably doesn't. She's probably back and forth, though.
I have no idea, actually, where she lives.
I don't know. But yeah, no, I think that anywhere that women's markets are strong is a target. So I think Indianapolis is a logical one to throw in the mix. And Philadelphia, I think, is another big target.
Yeah, Philly makes a lot of sense.
Philly is a huge market for women's sports and a huge market for hockey. So, I was a little surprised we didn't go to Philly last year.
Now you mentioned, because like Caitlin Clark and obviously with the WNBA, I kind of then wonder if you maybe tap into Houston, because you have a rink there, because I believe the Houston Arrows play there. And they've got a long history in the WNBA. Like, they were like the first like dynasty in the early years of the WNBA. So you probably have like a good foothold in women's sports there.
I think your logical south of the border targets, like south of the Sunbelt targets in the United States, are Dallas and Houston. If you're gonna be going there, the reason you may not want to go to Houston is if the NHL expands again over the next couple of years, Houston is going to be a prime target. So it might be tough to get in there and then have an NHL team come in and steal your thunder. But Dallas, why not?
That just means they got to go to Atlanta.
Oh, D.
Hey, they're gonna keep giving Atlanta expansion teams. That's how Canada will get more teams in the future.
It's true.
It's the only
Or
way.
lose them.
2 out of 7 Canadian hockey teams started off in Atlanta. Just saying.
Oh, that's right. No, they both expanded. Why am I thinking losing? Oh, that's Phoenix that I'm thinking of. That's right.
Rest in peace, the Coyotes.
Pick them up in Atlanta, and we lose them to Phoenix. Like, there's options, and like even if you want to go back to like historical hockey markets, like I mentioned before, St. Louis could be good, being like an next 6 market.
I don't know why. I just don't feel St. Louis.
It's kind of in the middle of nowhere.
But at the same time, like I know there's that entire mushy middle of the United States. But
Mushy middle. I just don't see. I don't see him going to St. Louis before Chicago.
Why not both?
Because the team isn't going to be expand to 20 teams in the next couple of years.
Well, we're not talking about expansion, though. We're talking about neutral site games.
Yeah.
I don't know that St. Louis is going to be the top of the list. They might get a game eventually. Other Canadian markets, like I said, I think Winnipeg has a good chance. There's a Minnesota versus Toronto game that's could very well be played in Winnipeg. That would probably turn out quite a few fans. It's going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm. We'll find out.
I don't know. I would be almost certain if they're really looking at Detroit for an expansion market, they run another game there.
100%.
Like, if you can really prove that market is strong,
yeah, then
that's big.
Like, if last year's a one-off, that kind of tells you a bit more. Whereas if you can build that same support 2 years in a row, that, that has a little more weight to it.
Yep. Well, hopefully they start announcing this stuff soon. But
yeah, because if there is a Vancouver ones, I want in on that ASAP.
And the final piece of PWHL news I want to talk about is Sarah Fillier remains unsigned by New York. So for those who don't recall, Sarah Fillier was who is a standout young player of Team Canada, standout college player, was the number 1 pick in the PWHL draft this year by New York, and has, unlike all the other first-round picks, so far not signed a deal. So it was reported that the holdup was New York wanted a 3-year deal, while Sarah Fillier only wanted 1 or 2 years. And this week it was the rumor that reporters were leaning into is that it's going to be a 1-year deal to be announced fairly soon. What are you feeling about that, SJ?
I mean, it is a little surprising since she could ask for a significant raise on her second year in the same deal. It's not, they don't do annualized cap hits in the PWHL. It's actual money paid per year. And
the rumor is that's what Danielle Serdachny got with Ottawa, was 2 years at kind of an average salary, and then 1 year at a very large salary when it's expected that one of the big 3 players is not going to be making as much.
Yeah. And she's not going to be a free agent after 1 year. New York will retain her rights for the first 2 years. I mean, I don't see them trading her without a contract. So I'm not really sure from her camp what the incentive is to hold out for a 1-year deal, or if, like, for some reason New York is really standing firm on not giving her a big raise in the second year.
Third year. The second year would be the third year of the original deals. So it'd be tough to give her a big raise then.
Mm-hmm.
Because those people are all signed to 3-year deals. The Abby Rock. Was it? It's Abby Rock.
Micah Zandy Hart's one of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then... Oh, is it Alex Carpenter?
Might be Alex Carpenter.
Yeah.
So I almost wonder if they're going to wait for expansion and see if one of the big 3 players in New York moves out.
Mm-hmm.
So Zandy Hart's the captain, but maybe she goes, or maybe Alex Carpenter goes to one of the new teams, depending on what the rules are. Or even if a couple of the mid-range players go, that might be enough to free up a much larger payday for her.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think expansion rules should look like? Because I think they absolutely want to avoid only allowing like crappy players to go. Mm-hmm. But, people aren't going to want to lose all of their stars in an expansion as well. So, like, maybe something like the NHL switched to a pretty generous expansion format that was successful with Vegas and Seattle, to varying degrees.
I would think it would have to be something along the lines of protect one goaltender and maybe a max of 6 skaters. Maybe you do 5 and like 4 and 3 or 6 skaters, because it's got to be 2, right? Like, mm-hmm. So that means every team's going to lose their 6th best player and 7th best player.
It's a very top heavy league. And
then they would get the first 2 picks in the draft.
Maybe.
I almost wonder if they would also potentially give them an extra couple rounds to kind of help bolster their ranks. There's so many free agents, and there's going to be more free agents next year. A lot of players who went back to Europe this year only signed 1-year deals, and there's a lot of talent in Europe that has deals coming up. So you have to think that you're going to draft 7. Let's say it's still 7 rounds next year. You're going to draft 7 players. You're going to pick 12, assuming it's 2 picks per team. Or you're going to pick 6 at least, draft 7, and then fill it with free agents. I mean, yeah. The other thing they might say is protect 2 out of 3 people, 3 of your max salaries, and then protect something else to ensure that each team takes a couple people making max salary or near like high salary. But it's also possible that they screw the new teams. It's not like the NHL where the new team owner is paying $1 billion to get in and basically bribing all the other owners. This is a 1-owner league. So,
but they have already stated that they want to protect the parity of this league.
Yeah.
So they can't just screw the new teams if they want parity.
Well, you can say one thing and do the other. But
I'm taking them at their word that that's the philosophy, is that they want all of their markets to be successful.
I would think in that case you have to protect no more than 4 or 5 players per team.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's about where you start talking. And I do think a couple teams would make players available who are in the higher pay bracket.
Another thing you mentioned too is like you'd potentially be losing like your 6th or your 7th best player, and that's assuming only 1 pick per team, because you suggested like maybe an expansion team picks 2 off of each team, but they're going to expand by 2 teams, right? So you might, if by that you almost would have each other of the existing teams losing 4 players each. Like there's gonna be a lot of holes in that case to fill too.
Yeah, and I mean I think that is probably necessary to weaken out the middle 6 of the league. Mm-hmm. But I don't. It's very rare that, like in the NHL, even when Seattle and Vegas entered, they did not get any star players, with the exception of Marc-Andre Fleury going to Vegas. Mm-hmm. But no offense to Vince Dunn, Seattle didn't get any star players. And the people who became star players in that Cinderella run for Vegas, the only ones who really kind of retained that status were Marchessault and Carlson.
One of them's not even there anymore.
Marchessault managed to play that into a pretty nice contract. So
yeah, I think Marchessault kind of did it, but I'm not sure that Carlson can really be considered a star player.
Carlson was after that
very
first
good
year,
player.
but then he kind of came back down to earth. Because, like, you got to remember, too, like, that first year, Carlson potted, like, 40 goals. Like, he stuck a rocket to his rear end and shot to the sky. Whereas, like, Marchessault at least stayed consistent for the few years after that, whereas Carlson just kind of came back down to earth, right?
The point is that there's a difference between being competitive in a draft, in an expansion draft, after an expansion draft, and being a top contender. And I think it's going to be a tough line to walk. But if you were to go to every PWHL team, pick the 5th and 6th best player off of it, and then draft first overall next year, I think your team has enough star power to win games. And yeah, because like it would be a lie to say that the PWHL was completely equal last year, or even close to it. New York was really bad. So I don't know.
I'm not convinced that New York's problem was talent.
No, me either.
Even if they were bad.
And they were.
Oh, were they?
So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this. It's the only holdout. And I think we're going to see challenges like this as long as the PWHL is paying small amounts of money. So folks, don't forget we're available to hang out with on Discord. You can hit us up at neutralzonehotel.com/Discord to join our server. And if you're listening to us on a podcast player, please give us a thumbs up or 5 stars, because that's one of the things that really helps the show grow. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/neutralzonehotel. So yeah, hang out with us, give us thumbs up, 5 stars, leave comments on YouTube, do all that fun stuff. We're going to take a short break. We're going to be right back. All right, folks, we're back. So we're going to talk about some of the early trends in the NHL and whether or not we feel they're fake or if maybe there's something that's sustainable. So, SJ, what are you seeing around the NHL that makes you feel maybe it's real, maybe it's not real?
I think that we can say that the early results out of Calgary are not real.
Okay.
They had a really strong start. They currently have a 611 points percentage. I don't think they're that good. I think they are maybe going to be a 500 team this year at best. So, but they had a good start to the year. Fake.
Yeah. Fake. Calgary Flames. Fake. Trevor.
Yep.
Talk about a trend. Tell me if it's fake or real.
I mean, I can give you another fake one for sure. Mark Stone leading the league in points right now with currently 18 points in 10 games. This is a guy who has never, I don't think, once had a point per game in a season. There's no way that this is sustainable throughout. Okay, he had 53 last year and 56, 38 and 43. So he can roughly average around a point per game, but he's never hit more than 64 in a season. And that was the year where he actually played a full season. Wow.
His knee is going to fall off like next month. He'll miss 2 or 3 months. Yeah. Like the man cannot stay healthy.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like Vegas as a whole is still a really good team and he's on a very solid line right now, but either they're going to fall off or he's going to have something fall off.
Yeah, for sure. Eichel's production is probably fairly sustainable, but Eichel is also playing with Stone. And if Stone leaves, Eichel's probably not going to produce quite as much. Vegas is currently 4th in the league by points percentage. They're rocking a 750. I think every team over 700 is going to fall off a bit. Speaking of other teams rocking a 750, Minnesota, I don't believe it.
No, not a chance.
Carolina, on the other hand, I think they're going to sustain their success. I think Dallas will sustain their success. The Rangers, Winnipeg, who has all of 1 loss to their name. I think they are going to be a playoff team solidly, but they're not going to be an 889 team.
What about you, Benjamin? Got any fun trends that you can think of?
Casey Middlestat has 13 points in 10 games, and I want to say I believe in him to be a point-per-game player this season.
Ooh.
All right, some positivity going on.
Sorry. Middlestat mode!
There it is.
Well,
I think that Colorado has the ability to unlock things in players they smartly acquire. And I think that Middlestat was a prime candidate for that, especially after getting an off season and a full training camp in with the coaching staff there. The early jitters in Colorado, where they lost a bunch of games to start the season, primarily due to their goaltending, seem to have mostly faded as they then rattled off 5 in a row. And Cale Makar is leading the league, or second in the league in scoring right now. However, fake, I don't believe that Ross Colton is going to continue to score 8 goals in 10 games. I don't think he's ending the season with 65 goals. He's been playing up because of some injuries, and I think it speaks to being on a line with Rantanen and McKinnon rather than his actual capacity to put the puck in the net.
You know what?
I could score some goals with playing with Rantanen and McKinnon that I don't know how to skate.
To that point, I'm going to read you guys the top 9 goal scorers. I want you to tell me if this is real or fake, that they can maintain their position in the top 9.
Okay, go.
Tage Thompson.
Real.
Fake.
Right off the bat, love it. Sam Reinhart.
Real.
Ivan Barbashev.
Fake.
Fake.
Nikita Kucherov.
Real.
Ross Colton.
Fake.
Fake.
Sam Bennett.
Fake.
Cole Caulfield.
Real.
All right, we got some love. Kyle Connor.
Real.
Fake.
And your current tied for number 1 until Caulfield tied him, Nico Hischier.
Fake.
Fake. Hischier only has 3 assists this year. So
Yeah, Caulfield's got 1.
Nobody expects Cole Caulfield to pass the puck, Trevor. His stick's not long enough. He just shoot. No pass, only shoot.
That's right.
They got Nick Suzuki to pass the puck, and Nick Suzuki's having a really great year.
He is.
But yeah, I would say that I think Kyle Connor is going to have a banner year. I think he's going to have the best year of his career. I don't think he's going to finish first in goals, but I would say if he's going to be in the top 9 or 10, sure, why not? He's padding the lead right now. Caulfield's shooting like 35% by the end of this game, which is clearly sustainable.
Clearly.
His career average, other than last year where he only shot 8%, was like 16.5, 17%. So even if he regresses to that tomorrow, he's still going to score 45 goals this year.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I think this is
no
the year he
problem.
does 40. Absolutely 40, at least.
It'd be wonderful. Montreal hasn't had a 40-goal scorer in so long.
Who was the last Montreal 40-goal scorer quickly? If you remember.
Pacioretty.
Really? Did he hit 40?
Yeah.
All right.
And we haven't had a 50-goal scorer in a very, very, very long time. So, yeah. So I do think that there's some funkiness, but yeah, Ross Colton is 8 goals, 1 assist because he can't do anything. He's getting close to the net, and Rantanen and McKinnon are banking pucks in off him. Which, I mean, you know what? That's how certain players make a ton of money.
Zach Hyman scored like 50 goals last year that way.
I mean, hell, that's how Ross Colton scored a Stanley Cup winning goal. So.
That's right. Just get in front and let Nate and Mikko bank it, or Kale bank it in off you.
Oh, speaking of unsustainable, Zach Hyman is going to eventually score some goals this year.
No.
Yeah, he's got 1 point right now.
He's so snake bit. He's so snake bit.
I think he's tied with Philip Gustafson for the amount of goals.
Yep, correct.
Well,
correct.
And now that McDavid's hurt, who's going to pass to Hyman? He's actually going to have to do work now.
I think I don't think McDavid is going to be out long term. Worst case, he's got a high ankle sprain. That's, what is it, 6 weeks?
Yeah, but we've also seen what happens when McDavid comes back too early.
I do think the Edmonton is currently under 500. They're 4-5-1. They're gonna do better than that. They might have to fire their coach though.
Whoa! They can't fire Chris Knobloch. Connor McDavid doesn't have any other junior coaches to hire.
You have to go to like his midget or his peewee coach.
Somebody coached him in midget. Bantam.
Fucking mind meld right there. Oh,
listen. Only Montreal is allowed to promote people from junior A to the NHL. Only Montreal.
I mean, that used to just be how they did it, though.
I don't think they're firing Knobloch.
I don't either.
Yeah, same.
It would be silly. It would be silly. Although I don't think they're I don't think they're above it, especially if they decide that they really they got to get Joel Quenneville or something.
Ugh.
All right, I have another one for you. I have a question, or I have a stat for you. Tristan Jarry, are his numbers real or fake?
I think he's not as bad as he has been, but I don't think he's good either.
I mean, to be fair, I feel like we're the wrong people of this podcast to ask. Where's our apologist when we need her?
No.
But
Jerry has a .836 save percentage, a 547 goals against in only 3 games played. That's frightening, right? For a guy that's making 5 1/4.
Yeah,
But
they sent him down to an AHL conditioning stint. Much like Jack Campbell, he is not this bad, but he is also not he's not a $5 million goalie either. So maybe he goes down, maybe he comes back and gets his head right. It's not an athletic problem. It's his head. It's in his head. He's in his head.
All right. I've pulled up the goalies. I have the top 9 goalies, goals saved above expected. So starting at 9th, I'm going to give them out and you just tell me if you think that this person's going to make it all the way through the year. At 9th, Ilya Sorokin.
I can see it.
Good
Sorokin's
goalie.
a good goalie.
Yeah. He's only played 4 games this year.
I mean, we know that Wall loves Varlamov, so...
I was about to say, Wah does love Varlamov.
Varlamov is much lower. Sam Montembeault. This is before tonight. I do not believe Sam Montembeault will be on this list after tonight.
Yeah.
So
I think he gets back in it.
Who's number 10 that we can then bump up to number 9?
Joel Blomqvist.
Oh, the current Pittsburgh goalie. Yeah, no, that's not sustainable.
Casey DeSmith, who in 3 games played has 4.5 above expected.
I mean, that's also playing under Dallas, but yeah, no, not a chance that that's sustainable.
Alex Lyon.
I like Lyon. I think he's going to have a good year.
I can see it. I don't hate it.
Ilya Samsonov.
He's playing behind that Vegas defense.
But if this is also like saved above expected, I guess is also the key thing. Like from what I've heard from Toronto fans, is Samsonov can either like be the worst goalie in the world for like a month, and then he'll turn around and just pop out like 3 incredible games out of his jeans. Like he's a streaky goaltender, so I don't think it's sustainable. But I'm also not surprised that he can be up there.
It's not hard to see why the Leafs moved on from him because. You know, if you're good for a month and bad for a month and good for a month and bad for a month, that's very tough to understand and handle. Leafs players are used for you being good for 82 games and then disappearing in the first round. That's the streak that they're used to. Igor Shesterkin.
Yeah, sustainable.
Yeah.
Contract year for Igor, or he's negotiating his extension. And he turned down, an $11 million deal?
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Wild.
Bankrupt the Rangers. It's going to be very funny to watch them have the best goaltender in the world for 20 years or 15 years and not win a cup.
Yeah. I subscribe to this.
Jake Ottinger, 6 games, 7 goals saved above expected.
Sustainable.
I could see it staying around the same, but I actually wouldn't be surprised if it also drops down a bit.
Well, yeah, he doesn't have to finish in the top 5, but he's a good goalie.
He's definitely finishing in the top 10. I don't think he's going to finish with 70 goals above expected or whatever it would end up extrapolating to.
Yeah.
Frederick Anderson, 4 games, goals saved above expected, 7-1. He's also leading the league in save percentage under 1.5 right now.
He's also hurt.
Yeah, but when he comes back, he's always hurt. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So not sustainable.
When he's healthy, he's a good goalie, but he's never healthy for long enough.
And here's the top one, Lucas Dostal. 6 games played, goals saved above expected, 7.7.
I think he stays in the top 10.
I can almost see him like maintaining something similar just because of the sheer amount of chances Anaheim's going to give up and the sheer amount of saves that guy's going to have to make. Although, what was it? There was that one Anaheim. There was that overtime that Anaheim played against Colorado where Dostal made like 3 mind-blowing saves in that overtime. I remember watching this because I had to watch the Colorado broadcast. Oh my God, never again. It was 5 minutes and I already just wanted to mute the whole thing. But multiple times I heard that the broadcasters for Colorado just be like, I can't believe it. How did he save that? And it was probably worth it. The saves were magnificent. So
yeah, Dostal is fun to watch.
So to be clear, Dostal has seen the 3rd most amount of shots in the league. That is not necessarily corrected for game. He's only seen 6 games. Mrazek and Markstrom and Jersey both have seen more shots in 8 games. So he's probably seen the most shots per game.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm going to go the other way now. Goals saved above expected, the low ones. So 9th is Devin Levi, 3 games minus 3.3. Do you think he's going to end up in the bottom? And we'll assume 25 games for a goaltender.
He's a young goalie. He might end up in the bottom.
If he can figure it out, then I think he'll get out of it. But at this point,
you
kind of got to hope that he doesn't get stuck in his own head and just kind of...
Here's the thing. I think he's still waivers exempt.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, if he's really struggling, they'll just send him back to the AHL and he'll find it again there.
Speaking of being sent back to the AHL, Artur Silovs.
Oh yeah, he's definitely going down there. Yeah, he's looked pretty poor in his 2 starts. Although I bet you they'll give him New Jersey tomorrow just because McKinnon needs a break. I'm not surprised. And here, Silovs was the talk of Vancouver for the summer. We all know this. And I'll sing his praises. He's a cult hero for how he managed to pull us almost to a victory over Edmonton. But let's not pretend that he was a fantastic goalie in that series or the end of the Nashville series. He was fine. He was adequate. He was sub 900. And Benjamin, what did you say about that series and 900 goaltending?
Yeah, I don't remember, but I'm sure it was very bright.
It was whoever can get 900 goaltending wins.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yep.
Vitek
not surprised.
Yeah, Vitek Vanacek, 5 games minus 4.3. Now, Blackwood's played 6, and he's at only minus 7, which I think is minus 0.7.
Okay.
Which I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, minus 4.3 in 5 games for Vanacek.
Well, Blackwood is a good goalie, playing behind an absolutely atrocious team. I think he is a good goalie. And Vanacek is not an NHL goalie.
Playing behind not an NHL team.
Yeah, playing behind not an NHL team. But
he is easily bottom 10 for sure. That one is sustainable.
Completely sustainable. Bottom 10 goalie.
Do we think there's a chance he gets waived and they bring up Askarov?
Yes.
Honestly, I could see them doing it probably in the middle of the season once all hope looks lost. It's all right, screw it. The season's lost. Let's give Askarov a shot.
All hope is lost for the San Jose Sharks this season.
Actually, here's what I think actually happens. I think that in the middle of the season, if Askarov continues to kill it in the AHL, they bring him up and give him a bunch of starts, but they don't waive Vanacek. They just keep him on the roster and carry 3 goalies. Because they have no reason to waive him.
Yeah. I almost wonder, how long is Blackwood signed for? To Puckpedia.
Boop, 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 boop.
The Sharkies. Yeah, Blackwood is done. He's only on a 1 year. So he might be playing himself into a backup role in a contender. At which point you run Vanacek as against the tough teams and you run Askarov against the other crappy teams. I think that would be my play.
Yeah,
if I were Mike Greer, which I am absolutely not. My brother is not a GM in the
NFL
National Football League. That's the term. Okay, Jakob Markstrom.
Really, he's below that.
Minus 4.6 goals saved above expected in 8 games.
So
go ahead, SJ.
I was just going to say that for the sake of my fantasy team, I'm going to need him to pull out of the skid.
My question is, does Jacob Markstrom play more than 55 games this season?
I mean, I'm personally hoping that Jake Allen gets 40 because then we get a better pick from the Devils. But if he's played 8 out of 10, I don't think there's any chance he's playing less than 60.
I think that as long as he stays healthy, yeah. Markstrom problem is that he's good one year and bad the next. He alternates.
That's not his problem. The reason I ask is, if he plays more than 55, nope, not a chance. He's staying down there because he gets too tired too quickly. If you play him like more than 3 or 4 games in a row, dude just falls off a cliff. He needs a break every couple of games just to kind of reset. We saw it all the time in Vancouver. You saw it again in Calgary. If he gets overworked, the dude just flops everywhere and just gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
Well, that's why he's supposed to be having Jake Allen backing him up.
Yeah, and to be clear, he does. Jake Allen is there. It's not like he's off on vacation. Jake Allen, 4 games played, minus 1.1 goals saved above expected. So he's having a better
I think that
run?
Jersey just isn't clicking right now. But they're going to be better than... I think they're going to be better in the end than they have currently shown themselves to be.
All right, let's move this on. Stuart Skinner, 7 games played, minus 4.7.
Sustainable.
He started last year very badly, and then he got better.
He became fine.
I think that he ends up fine.
I think Stuart Skinner is an NHL goaltender. I do not think Stuart Skinner should be a starting NHL goaltender on a Stanley Cup contender. Like, I think he is a wild card team goalie. That should be a ceiling, and the fact that they have not resolved this issue in Edmonton is criminal.
I mean, what I think is, I don't think the fact that they have Stuart Skinner is the problem. I think the fact that they don't have anyone more reliable than Cal Pickard backing him up is a huge problem.
I mean,
I think he'd be fine in a tandem.
Yeah, like bring in a tandem. That's fine. Like I can handle that as your solution. But it just feels like once again they're going to go another year with a goaltender that probably can't handle the load, and they have to rely on the forwards to outscore the failures on the defense and in net. So
yeah.
2 for 1. Samuel Ersson and Ivan Fedotov, 9 games total between them, minus 11.2 goals saved above expected.
Yeah, that's what's been sewering the Flyers for sure. I think the Flyers are almost as bad as, like, win-wise, their record is almost as bad as San Jose. They are second last in the league, and it is their goaltending that is a huge problem. I don't know that they'll end up bottom 10, if only because Torts might murder one of them.
I was going to say, they are what we thought they were going to be last year, currently right now. So, yeah, it's only going to get, it's going to be bad for at least one more year before it gets better there. So, yeah, I think they'll both sit down there.
I think Ersson is a better goalie than he's been. I don't know if might still end up being a bottom 10 goalie for the year. I have no idea on Fedotov. Maybe he wasn't ready to come to North America, or maybe this is just growing pains.
I mean, he's 6'7". How many growing pains could he have left? All right. Connor Ingram, 8 games, minus 7.3.
Wow, he fell off a cliff there, huh?
I think Utah's defense isn't helping him. Ingram is a better goalie than this. I think he pulls out of the skid. If Utah can do something about the fact that they're missing 2 of their top 4 defenders, it would help them a lot.
Well, like, we're talking about a guy that almost pulled Arizona into, like, decent contention last season when he came up to being in net while the San Jose Sharks came back from 4-1 to tie and then win a game in the last, 5 minutes. Like, Ingram, yeah, SJ, you said it really well. Ingram is better than this. He's gonna turn it around. Like, out of all the ones that you've listed so far, he's the safest bet I have that he would turn it around.
Yeah, I think so.
And finally, 6 games, minus 10.2 goals saved above expected. It's Alexander Georgiev.
Nope, that good old Alexander Forgiev. Yeah, no, that's sustainable.
Like, the only thing that stops him from being in the bottom 10 in goals saved above expected is if he completely loses the crease.
Yeah. I mean, well, if Annunen continues to play well, he will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Annunen, again, this is money puck, because I'm too cheap to buy the better stuff for reference.
Oh, same.
Annunen also has played 6 games and is 0.8 goals saved above expected. So that's roughly league average, which is that's all the Colorado Avalanche wants. If the Edmonton Oilers could get league average goaltending, last year they would have won the Stanley Cup. So I'm not going to say that the Avs are a wagon. Their lack of depth right now is frightening, but if they get back the players that they're supposed to get back, and Lehkonen and Taves, and if Landeskog gets off the bench and is any good, they could become a wagon pretty quickly. So that's it for the NHL, and our thoughts on frauds and real people. Very real. Cole Caulfield's going to score 50% on his shot percentage this year. Very fake. The Calgary Flames.
Yep.
SJ, you read a book.
I did. Before we jump into this, we have hit an hour. Do we want to do 5 minutes on this book review or cut it here?
I don't know.
I'm down to listen to it for 5 more minutes.
Well,
all right.
My question is can you do the book review in 5 minutes? Because we're probably going to ask you a bunch of questions.
Let's bump it to next week.
All right.
Okay.
SJ read a book, but you're not going to find out about it.
Right,
folks.
we'll call it a teaser.
Yeah. So SJ read a book, but we're at an hour, so I think we're just going to call her here, and you can find out. The book is not timely.
No.
By any means. So we will find out about it later. Again, I did not open a production document this week, so I'm completely working from memory. But hey, this has been the Neutral Zone Hotel, which is written, produced, hosted, distributed, and anything else that you do with a podcast by the Neutral Zone Hotel crew. You can find us at neutralzonehotel.com. You can join our Discord at neutralzonehotel.com/Discord. You can find us on socials on Bluesky and Instagram at Neutral Zone Hotel. Same with YouTube. We would love it if you're listening to this on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment. If you're listening to this on a podcast player, thumbs up, 5 stars. We would really appreciate that because it helps the show grow. As always, I want to thank our friend Emily Mowbray for the super fantastic logo. I want to apologize if I've forgotten anything that I usually say in the outro, and want to wish you all a lovely week. We'll talk to you soon.